Remember who, not how. So looking for the who has the expertise to help you make it happen. Don't always get so focused on the nitty-gritty details. Big picture before you get to the small picture. And focus on who, not how.
Welcome to the American Dream Builder and Investor Podcast, where our vision is to inspire busy professionals, especially first and second generation immigrants and Americans, to explore the state of the American dream in 2022 and beyond. That is the Trinity of Freedom: time, financial, and geography freedom. I'm your host, Micy Liu, and I have achieved financial independence, and I'm helping many others to do the same. I started out with $5,000 and have really built wealth for my family along the process. Now, I'm on a mission to help hundreds of thousands of people like me to do the same.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the American Dream Builder and Investor Podcast, episode 21. Today, we'll talk a little bit about what I believe to be the best ways to get started in investing in 2023. Yes, there's tons of strategies out there in real estate investing, from flipping single-family short sales to commercial real estate to self-storage, mobile home parks, etc., different asset classes, different type of capital investments. But what I like to talk about today is just one thing that's usually you can do in any of those things I mentioned, and that is partnerships. I believe this is one of the best strategies to get started in 2022, 2023, and beyond. So what are partnerships? I'm sure you know it's about you partnering with someone to accomplish a mutually agreed upon goal, a common goal. In real estate investing, how do we structure a partnership? What could a partnership look like? So think about the areas or things you need for a deal to come through. And those are the areas you can partner on. And I want to mention that because sometimes, especially previously, my background was also more focused on sitting in the office to partner with specific departments or teams. And that's under the umbrella of a company with my W-2 job. But when it comes to the world of entrepreneurship and having the sole responsibility to select who you want to work with, you got to kind of think bigger. So think about what are the key ingredients that makes a deal possible and makes a successful return on your investment. You got a few pieces. First, you got to have a deal. So if someone has to go out there, find a deal. And secondly, we need to have money to be able to purchase the property, whether they're being down payment to a loan or buying it cash. The third thing is someone being able to sign on the loan, and also having the net worth and liquidity requirement that's required to close the loan, and also the experience as well, especially with those larger commercial real estate deals. They really want to understand you've done similar things to be able to ensure or to be able to bring more likelihood to the success of the deal. And the last thing, which is also very critical, is the execution of the business plan through operations, renovations, etc. So those are the four pieces. That's what makes a deal successful. So how do you structure a partnership? It can be in many ways. It could be active partnerships. You could be participating in a deal. Maybe you and your brother, you and your father, just to go into that opportunity together. You saw a plot of land and you wanted to do development, assuming you have experiences or somebody else has the experiences, someone you hire or your family members or your friends have the experiences to go do it together. You can structure a partnership that way based on, typically, I like to base it on the value that person's bringing, depending on how much you value those experiences, assuming everything is equal, meaning that would be 25% of each. I have seen people who have taken more than 35 or 50% of the deal just because they can sign their names on the loan. As you know, in the world of negotiations, sometimes there's no such word as fair, but sometimes there is the word of market value. So if you feel like you're not sure what you can get when you're trying to get into a deal, just ask a few people and to get an idea of what's in the market. So for our passive investors, what we have seen in the market, it's common to see what we call 8% pref or 7% pref or 6% pref, meaning before the general partners who are active investors giving you returns on their investment, they would pay out the 6, 7, or 8% out to our investors first. And then after those 6, 7, or 8%, they would do a split between the general partners and the limited partners, whether that's a 70-30 split with majority going to the limited partners, or 50-50 or 80-20, whatever they might be based on the risks involved in the deal and how attractive the deal is and the availability of the money in the market. So a number of factors. At the end of the day, it's really demand and supply, demand of the good deals and supply of the good deals, and the demand of the deals and also the supply of the money in the market. So that's really about some of the things we're seeing in the limited partner space. However, that really varies, right? Like I mentioned, it really depends on how much operations are involved in actually managing the property, implementing the business plan. Sometimes for a really heavy value add deal or a deal that has a lot of cash flow, but it takes a lot of management, like mobile home park space, there may be a even split, like 50-50 split. Or sometimes I have even seen operators, meaning sponsors, that takes a 60-40 split with 60% going to the sponsors because they have so much work that needs to be done.
This podcast is sponsored by Life Mission Capital, founded by me, Micy Liu, where my life mission is to help busy professionals invest well so they can focus on what matters. All my life, I was taught to study and work hard for my freedom. Until one day, I realized that unless I let my money work hard for me, I will always be trading my most precious resource, time, for freedom. Since then, we have also been helping our investors passively diversify into more than 1,000 units of recession and inflation-resistant alternative investments, such as multifamily, mobile home parks, short-term rentals, and more. Learn more with our free ebooks at lifemissioncapital.com.
There's a lot of things that are risks for the sponsors. So it's really a negotiation at the end. It's really a decision that the sponsors has to make sure that it is an attractive deal for the limited partners. And there's other things that you can also participate in the deal apart from the equity piece, which we talked about with the returns. That's really by owning shares of the LLCs that holds the property through the syndications. You could also be a debt partner rather than paying you a percentage of shares. They could just be paying you a fixed rate debt that's paid out on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, depending on the conditions of the debt. And then they would use that money to actually take out another loan. So there's different ways to kind of bring the capital piece. How about the other pieces? The other pieces can also be formed together in a partnership, among the general partnership as well. That's why a lot of times you see in a lot of the investments, especially in syndications, you see different people, maybe in the same company or different companies, that they'll have to bring the ability to find a good deal, whether through off market or through talking with brokers and establishing relationships for those millions of dollars of deals, and the ability to sign on the loan. Sometimes people who finds the deal may not have the money and the net worth and the liquidity to sign the deal, nor have the experience that's required to sign on the loan, especially with the debt market right now being a lot more difficult than it was. And the third thing is operational expertise, right? Do they have the experiences to implement the business plan, right? I've had some personal experiences working with a sponsor before, and their property management company was a little bit new, and they weren't really turning the units and listing it up as fast as I thought it would be, even though we were able to hit the business plan, but it was a lot slower than I expected. So how is their operational expertise and what's the likelihood of that being successful? And how is that going to add value? Is there anyone else you can have, a third party property management company or someone on the team that can bring this expertise? So you kind of look at those pieces and see the person who's leading the deal, funding the deal is likely the person that kind of starts everything, and how much they're willing to give up to make this deal happen. That's kind of where the negotiation structure is happening. So I believe this is one of the best ways to get started in real estate investing, by working with people that you like and trust to form a relationship, whether it's with limited partners through syndications or just with your father, your mother, your brother, your friends, or people you met in the real estate investing club that you feel you have common goals and common values. Because this is the best ways to spread risk and get risk adjusted returns. But you just have to choose those people very carefully so that you don't have to worry and argue over little decisions and worry about them not picking up their share of the slack when it's time to complete those tasks either. So hopefully that makes sense. Remember who, not how. So looking for the who has the expertise to help you make it happen. Don't always get so focused on the nitty gritty details. Big picture before you get to the small picture, and focus on who, not how. So hopefully you enjoyed that quick episode. For me, 2023 is going to be a great year, and I'm going to focus even more on the who, not how, in making my 2023 goals come true. Talk soon.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the American Dream Builder and Investor podcast with me, Micy Liu. We hope you enjoy the tips and tricks that others have used to build their American dream and their trinity of freedom. We would love for you to subscribe and leave a rating and a review. You can also find all the episodes and details on lifemissioncapital.com. Until then, let your life mission go wild.